Hello, chefs. Good morning. We are back again. I am Noreen, the Phoenix Warrior Chef, here with the Dragon Warrior Chef, German Lamb, and the Young Jedi Chef, Isaiah, and we will be your hosts for today's podcast. You are listening to a unique podcast where we will discuss tough yet real topics that need to be heard in the industry. In this podcast, you will hear the truth, real, raw, and unfiltered. Today, we have the honor of having Chef Adam Pyle here to discuss feeding your passion. Chef Adam is creative with his recipes and specials, has a lot of experience, and is always a positive, motivated force in the kitchen. I'm excited to get started and jump right in. So, without further ado, I'll let the star of our show, our guest, Chef Adam, introduce himself. Chef?
Hello, everybody. My name is Adam Pyle. I'm a chef at the Boca Raton Resort down here in Boca Raton, Florida. My restaurant's called Principessa. We specialize in Italian, kind of regional, and I've been at the resort for, I think I just did 22 years in September. So blessed to be there, get to work with people like Noreen, and thank you for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for joining us and thank you for your introduction. So, in the culinary world, passion and creativity are what keep the fire alive, but they're also what can be the most challenging to sustain over time. Behind every great dish is a story, an idea, and an energy that brings it to life. So, let's start by talking about how that creative spark continues to thrive. Chef, how do you keep your creativity and inspiration alive after so many years in the kitchen?
I think it's a great question. It's tough to maintain. And as I go through my career, inspiration and creativity comes from many different areas. You know, uh, Continually inspired by the people I work with. Also, our region down here in Florida lends itself to some great creativity. You know, we have local farms that specialize, hydroponics. We have all kinds of different relationships that we have built over time with like some of these farms and fishermen that we get cool products and then we have to figure out what we're going to do with them. So that has been a challenge and it's been fun trying to figure out on a daily basis what we're going to do as far as like specials that we're running in the restaurant or our menu changes that we do. Always kind of looking for that next thing. So as I go and as the restaurant goes and the resort, the our clientele kind of demands different things, and I've been fortunate enough to have mentors at the resort and in my career that have pushed me to kind of step out of my comfort zone and to keep exploring and keep searching for the next thing. Our Chef Andy Rowenbeck, he is big mentor in my life, has been since I started at the resort, and that's always his thing: is what's the next big thing? What are you going to do that's going to be a staple on your menu, or the next big thing at an event? And they push the envelope as far as creativity and that kind of mentality and work environment has pushed me to step out and try to figure out like some cool things. And I think we've accomplished that in a lot of areas. But as I go, inspiration could be something as tiny as we bought a Corsetti stamp for the restaurant the other day and making a special using that. So it could be a tool. Or an ingredient. I'm excited to get in tomorrow. We got a big shipment coming in from one of our local farms called Swank Farms, and they just hit their growing season. So we got some spigarello and different greens and vegetables coming in on Thursday that, you know, we're going to figure out what we're running with.
Awesome. No, it sounds a lot like you kind of let new ingredients give you a little bit of spark and guidance. And I know we get a lot of really cool produce from Swank Farms. And something I've talked about before on the podcast is really loving the growing season and seasonal foods and letting that kind of be the star. So I love that. And we also always talk about mentorship. And Chef Adam even mentioned after 22 years in the industry, executive chef, multiple places, still is important to have the mentorship. And I
And,
really love
and some of my mentors that I can just call them on the phone and ask for guidance on things. People who have come and gone as mentors in my life, but still remain a big portion of my life, both professionally and in my private life. So, and without them, I probably wouldn't be still in the industry or doing what I'm still doing today, I guess.
that. Well, yeah, mentorship is really important. It's something that comes up in our podcast all the time. And I think there's a really, really big reason why. Isaiah, what's your spin on this creativity and inspiration?
Yeah, for sure. No, Chef, you hit a lot of really points on the head on your answer, and I think some of the most critical ones that you hit was one, mentorship, and two, challenging yourself and staying motivated by that way. 'Cause I feel like, especially in this industry, if you don't challenge yourself, if you don't go into something new, if you don't try to push the limit, you become stale, and then not there. You know, it's pretty much why you're still in it. So I think that's the biggest thing is staying hungry for a challenge and kind of remembering why you got started and what first inspired you when you first stepped in the kitchen. But what made you decide that you want to become a chef? Like remembering that and bringing yourself back to that younger self, bringing yourself back to the chef that had energy, the chef that really was, as every day you wanted to learn something new. I think that's what really inspires me is always once I reach the point where I've already learned everything I can learn, okay, I'm moving on. Okay, I'm trying to figure out a different avenue to where I could learn something else. And I may not be the best at it, but I will become the best at it after I learn. So I think that's the biggest thing. And really I could even say that in life in general, not just even in the kitchen. I'm trying to learn a new position as a waiter right now so I can learn a different part of the restaurant. And a lot of people are like, oh, why are you doing that? You won't be good. All this other stuff, you've never done this before, you don't have experience. But at the end of the day, if you know you could do something and you challenge yourself and you push yourself, you're gonna make it happen. So I think that's one of the things in life in general, but even in the kitchen, having the passion just stems from challenging yourself. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Chef.
Thanks, Isaiah. Yeah, absolutely. Chef Lamb, what's your take on this?
I'm just listening to what Chef Adam just mentioned, and it brings back memories. And, I look at it as, at my stage as a Yoda chef is I create my philosophy and principle. And that means whatever Mother Nature brings on, whatever seasonal, I talk to my vendors. My vendor says, hey, this is good for protein. This is good for dairy. This is good for vegetable. This is good for seafood, spice. So I realized, you know what? Utilize the resource that are in front of you because cooking is really easy. I always say, let the ingredients come through, and especially like, in Boston, learning from old school, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Boston, that was old school. You know what I mean? That doesn't exist anymore. That's gone. But we have new school. And I go, yeah, but you know what? I see a lot of beef Wellington coming back on the menu. You know what I mean? So to me, it's more like you could create a hybrid and, use ingredients that maybe back then we didn't think about. So to me, I always say clean, healthy, where whatever you're eating, you feel alive. Then also it depends on which, company you work for because they're going to dictate to you, okay, hey, we got to wow our clients, we got to wow our guests, we got to wow our wedding, because they want to see theater, they want to see master art. And to me, I'm like, create something simple where you could teach and develop your team where they don't have to think, you know what I mean? Because cooking is easy, but now you have to have a team, and suddenly they have hiccups. That's going to give you a lot of migraine headaches. So to me, at this stage right here, it's like simplicity is the finest. Then that cook in your team starts to think like an engineer, because that's what we do with food, right? We're a food engineer. How do we take this ingredient and how do we fabricate it and how do we compose it and how do we present it?
No, I love that. I love that. I think simple is king for sure. And that's one of my favorite things about Italian cuisine and why I really wanted to explore that after graduation. It's all about simple, bold ingredients and balancing them in a beautiful dish and letting them shine, which is I really love that. And it's interesting to hear it, the other end of your career, opposite of me starting, you're thinking, let's just go back to simple. Let's keep it simple, keep it simple. It's not, creativity is not about being complicated. Sometimes it's just about taking the direct path to that dish to create. Of
Yep,
course, now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think too, just as you're saying, the simplicity, it's a lot of what can we do to make this one ingredient shine? Or, we got in fish today that literally was just caught like an hour ago. And what can we do not to mess it up? Right. And, it's, as Chef was saying, developing those relationships with our purveyors is a big thing. I always joke that the guy I buy my Italian goods from, Hugo, I've had a longer relationship with him than I have my wife. And he knows what I like. And if it's something cool, and I have that relationship with most of our purveyors, if it's something like cool and interesting, they're going to send it and say, like, I think you should be using this. And then we'll figure it out from there.
That's awesome. I know we had a good relationship with our purveyors, but I didn't realize they were just, here, this is cool. Why don't you try using this? Because you have that relationship built, the years of trust, and that's really nice.
Yep.
Now, of course, all this beautiful creativity that we're talking about doesn't exist in a vacuum, especially in our industry is very demanding. So we have long hours, constant pressure, and the pursuit of perfection and that show that we were talking about. It can take a toll. And there are yet many chefs that manage to stay deeply motivated despite all of the noise. So in the food industry, how high pressure and exhausting it can be, what helps you stay motivated day after day?
Just the love of it. Kind of a second opportunity for me, as far as a career. And, it was something that I felt kind of like head over heels in love with. I enjoy every aspect of it, the creativity. I love working the long hours. It's rewarding at the end of it. And I enjoy the interaction that I have with my team. We built a great team, and it makes coming to work that much easier when you have that support and people like mind that are after a common goal. It just makes it that much easier to come in and work. And staying at one place for as long as I have, it definitely can be exhausting. It can be repetitive, but at the same point, I don't think any year has ever been the same. It always comes with challenges, and I feel like it's how you embrace those challenges that is going to define your success. We don't make it easy on ourselves. The resort is a big place. It's high pressure, high volume, always something different going on. But being able to embrace the chaos that comes with that, and it takes kind of a special person, and it's not easy, but that challenge is what keeps driving me. I want always not just to be the best restaurant on our property, but like South Florida, in Florida, and keep working towards that goal, is really what drives me, you know, to keep being creative and being relevant, and using that, as a driving force. In my personal private life, it's my family that kind of keeps me grounded. I'm lucky enough that my wife is now working at the same resort. So we get family time a little bit at work and at home, which is great. The, my kids as well, it's that balance, that work-life balance that we're always trying to achieve, that, you know, makes leaving home, to go to work, a little easier when you love what you do, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah. I love that you kind of phrased it in a way like you have your driving force, you have your love, your push at work, but you still have something in your personal life that keeps you grounded. Because otherwise, I think we'll just all float into the atmosphere out of just burning passion, which is something I love about the food industry. But it's important to stay grounded, but still
Yeah.
have that internal like, I actually do love this, and this is what I love about it. And I'm someone that really loves challenges. I remember when I was an intern, there was just doing mignonette for oysters at one of the restaurants on property. And the sous chef at the time was very particular about having the shallots be perfect, which I understand because you're going to see them floating around in the mignonette. So day after day after day, who cut these shallots? I did, chef. Not good enough. Throw it away, start over. Yes, chef. After the fourth day, I was like, oh my God, like what can I do to make them perfect? So I approached it differently. But that challenge is what made me better. And that fifth day, he's like, who cut these shallots? I did, chef. Great job. They're perfect. You can do it again tomorrow. I was like, oh, thank God. But that just made me better. And that really like, something that you said, Chef Adam, is the challenge and loving the challenge because it makes you better. It pushes you to be creative, to approach things from a different perspective. And that keeps you going. And I love that. Isaiah, Chef Lamb, what's your
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess just to piggyback off of that is being able to work somewhere that will allow you to be challenged, that will allow you to have that kind of, like you said, chef, that family environment, because you spend more time with your coworkers than you do your actual family in most cases, especially in the kitchen. So I think working somewhere that is every day, like you said, to be able to work somewhere for 22 years and not be bored, not, be tired of it, not be sick of it is awesome. So that talks about really the company that you work for, that talks about, the where you're at, that they allow you to have new opportunities every day and each year is different. So I think that's a big part of it, is where you work is super critical to if you're able to grow and stay motivated. If that company allows you to present ideas to them, if they allow you to, be yourself in the kitchen, if they allow you to kind of showcase what you could bring, I think that's very, very important. And also working with people that are also inspired, that also are hungry to learn, that also are hungry to grow. It just makes you want to do better and makes you, just inspires you all the way around. And yes, you need it internally, but you also, whoever you surround yourself with is who you eventually become. If they have bad habits, you're going to develop bad habits. Even if you naturally don't, you will hanging around them or cooking around them. So I think being able to work with people that are inspiring to you and that are better than you, that will challenge you is what motivates me, and not discouraging people that aren't, but inspiring them and mentoring them and guiding those and bringing them up with you. I think is another thing that motivates me. Because honestly, I get the most joy when I'm able to coach somebody and they're able to be inspired by me. It motivates me even more to, I'm on the right path. I'm doing something good. Let me continue, so they continue to get inspired and motivated. So that's one of the biggest driving factors for me.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I actually love when we get the interns now that I'm on the other side of it. They are curious and they ask all these questions, and it feels really good to be that person. Oh, this is where this is. This is how you do this. Have you ever seen this ingredient before? And they get, no, what is that called? It's so exciting. So that kind of like reignites your internal like light for learning, like you said, Isaiah. So it's a very fun part of the process for sure.
It is.
And
Yeah, and then yeah, to see that, I'll go for it, Chef.
no, it's something that I love. We have a great externship program at the resort, and you know, we have kids coming from CIA, we have kids coming from IUP, where I graduated from. I'm lucky enough to get to go and recruit and bring these guys down to see what we do, and being able to pass on knowledge is rewarding on both ends. Something that we always talk about. I give homework for our students and for our cooks. Like if it's an ingredient that you're not familiar with, I'll ask you to go and research it. And it's just a quick little thing. Just could be Parmigiano Reggiano, or what makes extra virgin olive oil. But that curiosity is what we look for, because usually that curiosity is going to inspire creativity as well. You're doing some of the work on your own, and you're not just taking it for a fact that it's just cheese or just it's oil. You're finding out what goes into the process of making it. And, I know for me, that's always been a big source of inspiration, is just being curious about things. And I'm kind of a big food nerd when it comes to that, whether it's food history or ingredients. I love going and researching the history, and just knowing a little bit more about what we're using, gives you a little more respect for it as well.
Yeah, no, I think curiosity is one of the most important things as a chef. If you're not curious about how that thing came about, then what's the point? You know what I mean? Like you gotta always be curious. If you go out to eat, how do they do this? How can I do this better? How, different things like that. That's super important. I think one of my favorite parts of having people learn from me is even like young people or the people I teach. I'm a culinary instructor at Tribal Top. The people I teach there, just the look on their face when they see something that I could do so simply, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's awesome!" Just seeing that just continues to like ignite that fire and motivate me. So
Right.
yeah, thank you for that, Chef.
Oh, yeah. And it ends up being a positive feedback because then when you are educated and you know all about the ingredients and the dishes and you pass that along to your servers, they get very excited. And then they sell your specials, they sell your dishes. They're very excited about the food and it comes off. And I see that a lot in our restaurant. So I'm really fortunate to have someone who's like, no, go research this, understand the history and the culture, where it came from, and it just breeds inspiration all around and positivity as well. Chef Lamb, what's your spin on this?
Well, you know what? Great question. Chef, piggybacking the storytelling. So I look at it as we create recipes. And what is your chef recipe, right? There's a recipe in the industry that you just mentioned, right? Life, work balance, burnout, addiction. But that's part of the game. We can't change the game, but what we could do is change you, the individual. So for me, I go, what's your mise en place? My mise en place is wearing this white jacket, professionalism, safety, respect, sanitation. Then after that, guess what happens in the kitchen? Technique, methods, preparation. Your chef is going to teach you different methods on those. Then these four are probably the hardest, because these four is going to tell you if you're going to make it in the game. But when you make it in the game, are you going to be able to have a presence? And I call it body, mind, spirit, and food. The hardest part as a chef, because some chef I work with, they look like Chef Boyardee. I wish I go, what happened to that tennis star that I that you were before, or an athlete? So to me, it's something that I go, our industry is beautiful. I love this industry. So this industry is like, I have a recipe for you: sustainability. how do you add sustainability into your lifestyle that is free? You know, in my style, I call it freestyle, you know, everything around you is part of it. I study martial art, and, my mentor, Bruce Lee, says, become water. And if you understand that, that's what cooking is really about. In my, that's my breakdown of the culinary industry right there. This is what I see. Like, this is how you can be successful without stress, without anxiety, without mental, without burnout. But instead, you would be able to help your coworker. That is the cool thing about it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Like the being that team and helping your coworkers and I always love that saying, the Bruce Lee, like become water. I think the first time Chef Lam told me that, I was like, I don't think I quite understand. I'm gonna let that one, I'm gonna let it marinate, think it over, and then it like clicked one day. You just go with the flow, right? Freestyle. And that helps, I think, helps me through the high pressure, very busy times. Everything's fired at once. I'm running out of stuff on the line. I don't know what to do. And, that just, we're going to make it work. We're going to go with the flow. And that kind of segues into our next question because we'll have like moments like that in the kitchen and you'll have Chef Adam on the other side he's jumped on the line, he's helping us out and he's just singing and we're all like, what's going on in the midst of all this chaos? And it makes us laugh and it keeps us positive. And Chef Adam is really, you're known for your positive energy. So how do you cultivate that mindset, that positivity during those tough and stressful times and bring it into the workplace, even when it's been a really long day?
That's a great question. Everybody's always like, you're always so happy, right? And it really is kind of just the love of what we're doing. I genuinely love coming to work. I love when it's like that. When chaos ensues, that's where you really get to see your team shine. If we're in the midst of doing 400 covers and I'm a mess, that's what my team's gonna feed off of, right? So being that kind of like the source for my team, I have to be calm. If I was running around like a maniac and like the world is on fire, then it's not gonna be a great service, no matter what, right? So being calm in those situations, and there's always an upside to it, right? No matter how busy we are, we're putting out the best possible product and the best thing that we are, that we can do. And it's we'll get to the other side of it. There's always the end of the night, and no matter what, we're going to work as a team. And it's I love it when I'm always seeing like people hop off a station and go help somebody else out, right? Because that's how we succeed, is together, right? And you know to me, teamwork is what really drives our kitchen. And that's our like high water mark of success, is that guy from pizza, he's not busy anymore, so he's sliding over to help, and then that other person that was in the weeds is sliding in the back to help somebody else out. And I think that teamwork, helping the person to the right and the left of you is what drives our success in the kitchen. You know, and to me, I love that. I sing. To me, it's just I guess it's like my ADHD. It's just like a way to focus. But it's something that has always kind of just helped me like concentrate. And you know, and I genuinely love it. If it's a Friday, Saturday night, and we're just getting slammed, like what else would you want at that point? Like, I love it, people are coming into our restaurant because they enjoy it. So to me, being busy is never a bad thing. If anything, we'll take even more. But you know, it's we talk team, and building a team has been one of those things. I think we finally got to a point where our team genuinely like enjoys each other's company. And working 8, 10, 12 hours together always presents challenges with each other as well. So being able to lead comes in many forms and fashion. It's the source of creativity, the source of calming. I always tell everybody, just take a minute, take a breath. Let's get back into it and focus, and let's go. And it's I always get reminded of those times when that was me. I was on the line, and I've had chefs on the other end that you know didn't respond that way. So I think I always say you learn a lot from who you work for, whether it's good or bad. Both are important things. In my career, I've had chefs that I've worked for that they're an inspiration, but it was negative. I knew that I wasn't going to be him, right? He was a talented guy, but he was an asshole, and I did not want to work for somebody like that, right? And that molded part of my mentality when I got into that position. That's not who I was going to be, right? Still have it in me, but I don't show it unless it's like well deserved. But it's it's always a learning opportunity. Whoever you work for, you take the good, you take the bad, and you find out what part you're going to let influence you. I think that was always. I had a mentor tell me that early on, and he's like, you take the good, you take the bad from whoever you work for, and let that be an influence on you, right? So that's kind of, I try to stay positive no matter what. We work too hard and too long to where it's not a good environment if it's negative. I've had kitchens like that, and I don't ever want to get back to that. I want to be able to enjoy where I'm working as well.
No, absolutely. Something you were saying, Chef, that immediately reminded me of something Chef Lamb says: the good, the bad, and the ugly is how Chef Lamb finishes it. So,
Right.
Chef Lamb, what is your spin? I'm gonna let you take this one. Yeah.
Open eyes, open mind, open heart, open mouth. And right there, the good, bad, and ugly, it really makes you where if you have a chef that mentors you with love, but then you have an SOB chef who's talented, you're like, okay, you were never loved, man. So in our industry right here, right? You could tell how could someone be so talented and suddenly has the SOB in them. You know what I mean? And to me, I go, wow. So that's why in our industry, I call it the yin and yang, the hardest thing to achieve in life, because you have to really work at it within yourself, you know? So that's the thing, what I would say. So this way, Isaiah could chime in.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think it all starts from the top. It all starts with leadership. It all starts with what leader do you have, and I would love to have you as a chef. Because like to have that positive energy, to have the that mentality, and it spreads throughout the kitchen. If your chef is angry, your chef is the SOB, your chef is always yelling, your chef is always cursing you out, you're not gonna want to be there. It's not gonna be inspiring. It's not gonna be someone you're going to want to learn from, and that energy is going to spread throughout the kitchen like a wildfire. So I think having that positive energy automatically sets the day up for success. Even on a busy day, you're going to want to be there. You're going to want to work hard. You're going to want to be inspired because you have a chef that wants to be there. So I think that's the biggest thing. We have about 3 minutes, 4 minutes left, so I'll let you guys do the talking. But no, Chef, that's so inspiring. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just to wrap us up here in the last 3 minutes, Chef Adam, if you could give your younger self or a young chef in general one piece of advice about sustaining passion in this industry, what would it be?
Do your homework, right? I think it's kind of encompassing for everything, do your homework with who you're working for, and just maintain that passion and the drive. I think when I first started in the industry, I came into it with like open eyes and, learning a trade, learning a craft, and learning about this industry that, I have so much passion for, and try to just cultivate that as you go, just maintain that spark and remember how it felt when you first walked into a kitchen door for the first time or went through your first service. And, it's kind of magical. And, I maintain that with me all the time. It's what's kind of helped keep that spark alive. Is I remember when I first started, like, 25 years ago, and my first kitchen, and that love that I felt, and the camaraderie that comes with it, and just challenging yourself, just stay motivated.
Amazing. Yes, do your homework. I like that one. As a bookworm myself, I always like to go in and research new things. Chef Lamb, one last piece of advice about sustaining passion.
History, because we're going into an industry that represents the world. Different culture, different gender, different language. So you better have openness. And if you have openness, each person that you meet, it's going to teach you how to bring that love out. That is something that, I'm a history nerd. I love history, and you're looking at it and the history teaches you a lot, right? It's like I said, garbage in, garbage out. When we cook, it goes into garbage or you fall in love and the customer says 5-star.
Right. I love that garbage in, garbage out. Isaiah, final piece of advice, 30 seconds.
Yeah, stay hungry and cook with love, like Chef Sam said.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you for joining us, giving us your stories. This call will not only impact the ones listening, but will impact those that are connected. Here on this call, we've made history and helped lead our way for the future. Thank you for listening and see you on the next call.
Thank you, Chef.